How do you turn on the audio? At the bottom, you should see a little microphone, Diane, and it might be red if you don't. But oh, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. You will not be able to turn your microphone on. I will inform everyone of that. Since we are in a live room, you won't be able to turn your microphone on. If you have any questions, you'll have to put them in the chat. Hi, Lolo.
Lolo, what's going on? How do I see? We go to the chat thing, right? And we can see where people are.
If you go to the chat.
Okay.
You can see.
Oh, there you go.
Hi, Raksha.
Wow. All right.
Hi, Patricia. Raksha, I missed your call yesterday. You can call me back.
Everything is going on, Lolo says. That's cool.
Hi, Vicky. So excited for 2025. Me too.
Yeah, Vicky's on fire with some of her messages. A lot of great new names.
Yeah.
Hello, Diane.
Hi, Violet. Hi, Kathlena.
Sarah from New Mexico and Emily from Asheville.
Hey, Edith.
Asheville. Where's Asheville?
In North Carolina.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Hey, G.
Hello, hello. From the UK. Is that D or Die? How would you pronounce that? D? D-I? Or?
I don't know, because she's actually new. She's very new to the community. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Michael. Nice picture.
Hi, Ratswinder.
Okay. Well, we hit the 50 mark.
We did.
Yay.
Oh, look, someone from Minnesota.
What? Oh, it's
hi, from Portugal. Me too, Marcia. Hi, from Portugal. Yay. Aloha from Hawaii.
Exit the matrix from Ohio. All right. Wow. We got quite the group from all over the world. That's awesome. What a way to start.
Yes. So we will get started in about a minute. I just wanted to welcome everyone to our biggest Inner Flow Live to date. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy New Year to everyone. And just to let you know the way this works, because we have quite a few new people here with us today, that if we asked for questions ahead of time and we received quite a few. We probably will not get through them all, but if any questions do come up for you that you would like us to add on to the list if we have time, or if it's something that seems to go along with what we are already talking about, I will ask the question. Please put it in the Q&A box at the very bottom. I just enabled Q&A. You can ask your question anonymously if you'd like, but you can put your question in the Q&A box.
So hello, Violet and Michael and Sharon and Laurel. Did I say that right?
Hi, Mindy. Laurel, I did. Laurel.
From Woodstock.
Laurel is new too. Hi, Laurel.
Sharon, thank you for just discovering me. Welcome. I just discovered myself too, so that makes two of us.
Hello, beloved.
All right.
So shall we get started?
Let's go.
We have so many questions. Okay, you ready to
go?
go?
My gosh, yes. Let's do it. All right.
Okay. All right. So first question.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay. Does the soul spend time in the fetus as it's growing, or does it jump into the body immediately after birth?
Great question. Next one. Let's go. Just kidding. I thought it'd be a little bit funny. All right. So first of all, I feel I feel inclined to just share a little bit of some things that I know we have a lot of questions, so I know I can't be long on this one. Okay. Okay. But I just feel inclined to share with everybody, yes, a happy new year and an incredible year that is in store for all of us, but specifically those of you that I know are in the community and are partaking in all of the activities and meeting people and discovering yourselves. And I just want to let you know that the 2025, if you haven't been sort of following some of the interviews that I've been doing, is an extraordinary year. I mean, I know everybody always says that at the beginning of every year, but it's a year where for many of you, you're going to take some massive leaps forward in your awareness of who you are, your reason for being here, your sort of a path that you might start to see more clearly in terms of what that means. It's I call it the year of the reveal because the energies that are here are just extraordinary. They are here to support you, but they're also here to push you along. You're not, as I've mentioned in some of my interviews, you are not here just to stand in the sidelines. For now, that's okay as you get your feet wet. But as time goes on, your involvement in however you feel you're being called to it is going to be very noticeable and impactful to everybody. So, with that said, what was the question again, Maya? I'm sorry.
That's okay. So, does the soul spend time in the fetus as it's growing, or does it jump into the body immediately after birth?
Okay, so great question. I feel like this is one of those questions that have a lot of implications to it. But I'm going to try to remove myself from any of the 3D discussion around a question like that and just kind of lay it out the way that I know. And that is that in the time that of conception, the long and short answer is that it actually is kind of a little bit of kind of in between. It's the soul actually reunites with the body just as the body is about to come out at birth. So so in conception, the avatar body goes through its process of assimilating itself with the entire world, in collecting extraordinary amount of data, if you will, that allows it to adapt quickly to the world around it, both the environment that it's in, the lineage that it has inherited through their mother and father. All that data gets dumped, if you will, over a series of 9 months, so that when the time comes for your actual birth, you have all the information that you need in order to adjust quickly to a world that is going to be foreign to you. And so there's actually some, I don't know specifically the science behind it, but I know there's some research behind this now where scientists are looking at, or psychologists or psychiatrists or whoever studies this kind of stuff are looking at ways in which we as spiritual beings already are defined by the time we come out of the womb, because as a spiritual being, we will integrate with the avatar body just as we're being born, and that integration is instantaneously, which is why I always kind of say that the reason why if a baby is crying or looks shocked is because literally that spiritual aspect of it has just literally integrated with the body moments before. And so it is literally coming from a different realm, if you will, and assimilating itself so quickly that it often is shocked. But typically the spiritual being does not integrate in those 9 months with the body. It may come in from time to time to sort of check out how things are going. But I always kind of compare it to those movies where you see these bodies in these tubes, and there's water coming up from them, and they're just the body, the avatar body itself is getting prepared to integrate itself with the consciousness. And not all that different from like the movie Avatar, where that kind of happens, where they spend months preparing the avatar body for that. So that's a long-winded way of saying that it happens right at the moment of birth. How's that? That was my first shot at it. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So the second question, those that are here directly from source, I feel do not have a soul family that they evolve with in each progressive incarnation. Would that be correct?
Actually, just the opposite. Everybody has a soul family. Everybody is here to be reunited with their soul family, and coincidentally, that's why, to some extent, why we created this community, was so that people could reunite with their soul family. And I have maintained since the beginning that many who, if not all, who are drawn to this community are actually part of this one soul family, which happens to be in the angelic realm, which is the realm that comes from source. So actually just the opposite. We all have families. We all are. When I say families, I mean that we all originate from a specific, let's call it an area of consciousness, that we share the same energetic frequencies, if you will. And it's our desire, just like everybody's desire, is to reunite ourselves with our families. So actually, no, the opposite is true. The angelics and those that come from source itself are actually part of a beautiful soul family as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yay for me. Okay,
Yay.
2 for 2. Okay.
Okay. Question 3.
Yes.
Can you speak about how and why clairvoyant gifts are expressed so differently? Is it pre-planned, or is it part of the game that we unlock them as puzzles? Are they simply a side effect of raising our frequency? I know a person who is definitely psychic, but not wise or empathetic. They have a heavy filter of trauma. So it seems like it's possible to see across the veil without operating from a higher level of consciousness. I'm very curious about the rules of the game on these things.
Wow. Okay, there was like multiple questions in that one question. So you may have to walk me through those again, but
Yeah.
I'll give it a whirl and see if I can answer it as best as I can. I believe that one of the questions was whether or not these clairvoyant abilities are side effects to our awakening, and the answer is yes. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, as this person pointed out, that everyone who has them right now are awakened to who they are, and that can be a challenge for most people, to those who actually have those abilities, and those that are observing somebody that has those abilities, who, as this person pointed out, may not necessarily be wise to who they are. So I will tell you. So there's kind of like two things, two paths playing out here. The path that I'll focus on, at least for right now, is the path that comes with your own personal remembrance. As you start to remember who you are, and I want to be really clear about this. Remembering doesn't always mean that you'll have all the specificity of past lives or lives that you live in other worlds, but there is a sense of knowing, a real strong sense of being aware that you don't, that this place we call Earth or home isn't our true home. Let's just say that there's other aspects of you that is playing in other worlds, and those aspects may be actually astral projecting or whatnot. So the when you start to remember and you start to know that there's something greater to you than who you believe you've been told to believe you are, then with that comes these activations. And those activations at first may seem like just minor things, like, again, just like knowings or maybe even serendipitous events or what have you, but oftentimes will come with the, let's say the extra bonus of being able to have clairvoyant abilities, where you start to actually communicate with extraterrestrials or other spiritual beings, or that you are traveling, astral projecting in your sleep, or what have you. Those are uniquely set up for each individual. Each individual gets to choose before they come here how those activations will occur, right, and when they will occur, at certain levels of consciousness. So as many of you who are in the community have seen and experienced yourselves, you literally one day are just kind of going through your thing, your 3D life as you normally have, and then next thing you know, you start to receive an inordinate amount of information, information that you wouldn't have been exposed to, sacred geometric information and physics information and things that you never studied or what have you. Those are activations of clairvoyant abilities. Sometimes they're not looked that way or viewed that way because they don't, you're not doing some of the fancy schmancy or more sexy type of clairvoyance of speaking with other divine beings or whatever, but you're actually receiving extraordinary amount of data that can actually reshape this reality. So it's a long-winded way of saying that everybody has their individual activations that will enable them to continue to remember more things as their consciousness expands, and that is the process. That's the byproduct, if you will, of being able to remember or to be activated in your consciousness. Those people who don't have that awareness typically are there to show you sort of the I don't want to call them the pitfalls, but some of the things that you'll be having to be mindful of as you go through your activations. I believe that there may be some question like this along the way that says something about, when you have these beautiful gifts of being able to see or speak to other realms. Right now, most of those people that are experiencing that are still viewing themselves as vessels, as channelers. Okay, I mean, I know I've called myself that as well, but what we really are is we're really tapping into higher levels of our higher self, and so most of those who are stuck, if you will, in this 3D sort of illusion or delusion are still feeling as though they're having to interpret these things to make sense of it in 3D and to answer or address issues in 3D or solve 3D problems. And when you see that, you know that they themselves have not fully awakened to the fact that they're receiving this information because their higher aspects of themselves are communicating with them. And this is something that I talk about in my second book, which is called The Delusional Stage, where we have this delusion that we have to solve the 3D world's problems with it. Instead, we should be looking at it as we're trying to communicate with our higher self. Did I sort of answer all of them, Maya, or did I miss something there?
No, you did. You did perfectly. You got it
Okay.
all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yay for me.
Yay.
All right. Yay.
Okay.
Three questions down. Okay.
3 for 3. Okay. So the next question.
Yes.
How do you suggest one step into divinity and still juggle necessary parts of daily life?
this is going to be, excuse me, this is going to be the most challenging piece. In the course that I developed, I go through these golden rules, and the golden rule, the second golden rule, is about the simulation of this reality, and this is by far the hardest piece, because you are going to go through a process, at least for a while, if not a long while, where you have to transition into a higher state of frequency, and along with the beautiful sort of revelations or activations you're getting along the way, you are going to feel, at times, more often than not, detaching yourself from a lot of the 3D parts of your life. And if you're not detaching yourself from the 3D parts of your life, you're trying to, at the very least, juggle both of them. So a long time ago, when I was younger, a little kid, I used to have this thing about picking up. Um, I love. Sorry, I got distracted because Kim sent in this spanky image on the chat line. So sorry about that, folks. But I'll try not to get distracted by that. But a long time ago, there was this saying that used to resonate with me, and it was, to be in this world but not of it. And this is probably the biggest the biggest transition you're going to have to use. The four golden principles of this reality are like rules in a game, and if you understand how to use them, and they're not very difficult, you can actually apply them practically to your everyday life. I'll give you one real quick example. One of the major golden rules is that you are in the stillness. Okay, you have to understand what the stillness means, not the way that other people have taught it. I'm sure there's some wonderful explanations of the stillness, but you have to use the stillness in understanding that you exist there all the time, and then to know how to use that stillness as a space where you exist before anything ever was. Now, that may sound like a lot of, woo-woo, philosophical mumble jumble, but what I'm trying to say there is that in the stillness, which is where you exist, okay, I mean, this is like where you really exist, okay, you exist a moment before anything's been created. And so what happens there is that we spend our whole lives trying to chase things in life. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, we're chasing time, we're chasing tasks, we're chasing. Okay, when we have to realize that we're actually in a space of stillness where we're creating before anything ever existed. We have to try to get in front of things, not behind things. If you could start to do that, and it's not that difficult, but it does take some work, and we go through a whole bunch of different exercises to help you with that. But if you start to do that, you can start to create rather than react. And I'm telling you right now, everything in 3D is reaction. Everything is reaction. And if all you do is react, then you're stuck in 3D. And you're not being very practical with your awakening. You have to step in front of it and start to create from it. So that's just one example of many examples of how you take some of these very simple notions, ideas, and start to apply them in your practical life so that you can balance 3D and 5D as you're transitioning into 5D. Once you start to transition into 5D, you start to almost naturally start to know how to integrate these principles as if you were like breathing or eating. You start to become so fully aware of every moment that you exist in, that you don't have to, let's call it, work so hard, but you can play with the concepts of how to actually master the game, because that's what it is. It's a game. But it's a game that for a while requires you to play at two different levels, just like, like if you were in a digital game, you'd be playing two levels at one time. And that isn't always going to be easy, but it's not meant to be difficult either if you understand the rules. So ideally, that gave you something to work with. Yeah, that's it. That was my way of saying I'm done.
Perfect. That was great. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
So the next question. Throughout my life, I've been surrounded by family and friends with very deep and strong beliefs that give me a lot of fear. It is becoming increasingly clear to me that their truth is not my truth. How can the course and the community help me to find my own truth?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. That's a beautiful question, and the reason I say that is because if you're in the community long enough, I'll start with the community. If you're in the community long enough, you'll see that everybody supports each other. You'll see that there's no judgment here in any way. You'll see that everybody benefits from your input. I'm not as actively involved in the community as I will be going into this year, but I will tell you that everybody's experience, opinions, their viewpoints, their energy, whatever it is that you have or can contribute is huge to the collective consciousness of the community. Um, no one is no one's contribution is less than anyone else's. Everybody has an equal amount of influence, if you will, or ability to activate people in the community. So the community is a space where where everybody's gifts or talents, if you will, are encouraged to be brought out and into the light, if you will. And so we're constantly doing things to help people to feel more comfortable in their skin with that, because what I tell people is that everybody has coding. Coding's a big deal here. It's kind of like programming. It's frequency waves. It's things that you and only you have, and your frequency is important for the frequency of everybody in order to help them expand in their consciousness. Um, Maya, did you want to say anything about the community itself, or should I talk about the course?
No, please continue. Thank
Okay,
you.
so um, as far as the courses go, I will tell you that when I created the courses, just as when I wrote the book in this book that I'm writing now, I created it with an extraordinary amount of intentionality around it regarding programming and coding again. In other words, I knew that every word in the book or every word that was spoken in the course would have the ability to activate people. In what way, I didn't necessarily know. Everybody would be different in the way that they would receive the information. But one thing was for sure was that people would find value in not just what I was saying on the surface, but what I was trying to convey within the message. And so everything that I did while I was doing the recording for the courses was done under extraordinary circumstances where I was actually myself going through seismic activations. And some of these seismic activations were extraordinarily impactful from the standpoint that I was going through grid system activations that were pretty painful. But I knew that the information that I was receiving would be information that people would also receive and would be activated with the words that I was using and the frequencies that were being used and even the music and the visuals and everything that went with it. So I believe I answered it, but maybe if you just can remind me again what the question was, just so I make sure that I got it right.
Yeah, of course. Throughout my life, I've been surrounded by family and
Ah,
friends. Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
the family and friend stuff. Okay, so this part of it is going to be probably the most challenging part of your transition of 3D into 4D into 5D. But if you understand the roles that these people are playing in your life, you will understand that it doesn't have to be as complicated. What I mean by that is this: almost to a person, the people that are in your life, the ones that have direct meaning to you, the ones that have been there either as support mechanisms for you, or antagonists, people that have really influenced your life. Most of those, if not all of those people, are there to support your experience. So they don't recognize what their role is, but in the process of the game you're playing, they're what I've often referred to as the supporting actors. If you can see the value, if you will, of what they're trying to do in your life by nudging you along, either again in a supportive way or as an antagonist, okay, if their efforts are helping you to remember, to reinforce for you your truths so that you can shine brighter, then they are doing their job. Now, does that mean that at the end of the day, they will come along for the ride with you? This gets into stuff that I have mentioned in the past about parallel realities and parallel games, which are the parallel realities. They're playing their own version of their game somewhere else, and they are growing, expanding in consciousness like you, and they will have their moment, but that moment may not be in your game. In your game, they may just be the ones who in your life got you to this point, and who no longer are fitting into who you are as a spiritual being, who is also now, as let's just say, I don't want to say in search of, but who is drawing in its new spiritual family. Because there's a difference between an earth family and a spiritual family. But that doesn't, but when I say that at the same time, I also want to make the point that the people that are here as your earth family may be part of your spiritual family, but they're just not going to play that role here in this game. In this game, they're here just to support your transition into a higher level of consciousness. And if you wind up outgrowing them, then you wind up outgrowing them. But you will always have gratitude and appreciation for what they did in order for you to get here. Okay, that's about the simplest way I can tell you, but it is the most complicated because this often involves parents, siblings, children, and if you allow your 3D lenses to influence the way that you are progressing above, say, in consciousness to them, then it can really muddy the waters up a lot in terms of your ability to achieve a heightened state of consciousness without a lot of rocky roads ahead of it. Okay, that's about all I got to say about that.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So this question we get off and on in a lot of different variations, and also in the community. So at some point in the near future, I'm going to ask you to do a video about it and put it in the treehouse. I will guide you on some feedback, but it is something that is that comes up a lot in the community. So thank you.
This question about the families and the people and the loved ones and stuff.
Yes, and in different ways, but all kind of stemming back to the same thing. So I'll kind of put these bullets together for you, and you can address them. I feel like it'd be something really good the community would enjoy.
Okay. Kim, I hope that satisfied your spanky image that you have on the chat.
That was Adam.
Oh, is that Adam? I should have known better. All right.
Okay. The next question. This is actually a question from Adam, I believe. When will the series of codes begin to activate, and what changes or manifestations might they bring into our shared reality?
Yeah. This one. Well, the simple answer is it's happening now. Everybody is going to, as I've said before, everybody will have their own experience in terms of what that might look like. But in general, what I'm starting to see, at least in these, say, like early stages of this new energy that's coming in, is more of a 3D kind of a thing, whereas a lot of people are experiencing a lot of physical discomfort. And the physical discomfort has to do with this new energy that is that is literally burrowing its way through your grid system. As I may have mentioned already, that this energy is here to support you, but it's going to push you along. And so what you're going to experience is as far as physical conditions is well, a lot of aches and pains. I mean, it just, and it depends on the person where they're holding a lot of those blockage energies in their body. So that's just kind of a sidebar thing I wanted to mention, because a lot of people have been reporting that there have been over the last several weeks, if not maybe a month, there's been an uptick of these kind of physical conditions that they're not sure what they are, but nobody really seems to know either, relative to maybe some of the people that they have consulted with, like doctors or whatnot. But what we're going to start to see a lot more of is basically a whole series of downloads, activating downloads of data. There are already people that are already doing this or receiving this, but it's the wisdom piece of this, it's the awareness piece of this that is really going to heighten over the next 6 to 9 to 12 months. This is why I refer to this year in particular as the year of the reveal, because a lot of people assume that what I mean is that there's going to be a big reveal in terms of all sorts of different extraordinary events that have been hidden to the public. Yeah, there'll be some of that. There'll be actually a lot of that with a lot of revealing in terms of our connection with the cosmos and the extraterrestrials and whatnot. But the biggest thing is just that there's going to be the manifested piece of this, if you will, is going to be in the way that we will have a heightened sense of awareness of ourselves as being, well, in a simulation, in a dream, a heightened sense of ourselves being one, a heightened sense of ourselves being extraordinary, a being of intelligence that is trying to remember itself in terms of coming out of an amnesia state, if you will. Those things may manifest themselves in heightened dreams. Dreams are going to be extraordinarily big this year. They're not that they haven't been in the past, but people will have extraordinary dreams. And it's not just astral projecting. In some dreams, they will be remembering other lives that they're living in right now. In other dreams, that they'll have a much closer sense to the energies that they feel they feel an attachment to, with the divine feminine and the divine child, and they'll have remembrances of, or drawings. They'll have this compulsion to want to literally get up and go and go to unique spaces around the world. I mean, there are some people that are already doing this right now that had no idea they were going to be doing this a year or two ago. And they are speaking in a way that is extraordinarily wise, with an extraordinary ability to connect dots between all of these various ancient civilizations and the teachings of those civilizations, and all of these ancient sciences that literally were from the world of Plato and others who could speak that kind of language, and connecting sacred geometric patterns, and listening or seeing or observing themselves being in a space with extraterrestrials, or feeling as though they're being guided by them. Those are all going to be heightened exponentially. Again, nothing out of, when you look at it, and when you look at it from a totality standpoint, it's huge, because more and more people will be having them. But the symptoms themselves will be rather common, in the sense that up in the past, it used to be just a handful of people would be receiving these, and people would be looking, going, when am I going to get those kind of things? When am I going to receive those kind of activations? But now it's just going to be a heightened sense that everything that you are experiencing in your 3D world is no longer having as much value to you as it used to be, and that your attraction is going to be on the heightened sense of awareness of, what can I do to keep continuing to remember who I am? Why is it that I feel this extraordinary sense of purpose, and I feel that it's happening now? In the past, it used to be that you would have to do this on your own and you would hide it away. But now you won't have to hide it away, because you will be constantly given surges of energy that will constantly be activating your remembrance, your expansion of consciousness. And again, what those will be specifically for each individual is really hard to say, because everyone came here with their own sort of a la carte arrangement in terms of how they were going to be activated and what those activations would do. But if I can say, it would not be very different than what I went through over the course of maybe a 10 or 20 year span, but you're just going to be doing it in the course of a couple of years tops. So in other words, the things that I am doing today, you will be doing tomorrow. That is a guarantee.
Beautiful. That was perfect. Thank you. This question follows up nicely. Regarding this game of consciousness, are we entering a mystical era, one that explores realms consciousness has never ventured into before? Is this journey into the unknown what gives mysticism its essence as we expand and discover new frontiers?
Yeah, to boldly go where no one's gone before, right? Like in Star Trek. Yes, and maybe there was a maybe in there somewhere, but I'll explain what I mean by all that. The interesting thing about the unknown is that it's actually known. That's the irony of all ironies, is that we fear the unknown because in this 3D realm, we have forgotten that we come from the unknown. The unknown meaning what we don't remember. Okay, when we step into the unknown, what we will find, and I will just speak from my own experience, is that when I stepped into the unknown, it's scary. Okay, you do bring with you some fears that have been with you since you were born. Okay, but what you come to realize is that the unknown is more familiar to you than this world. I mean, as you start to remember who you are, those unknown pieces are just remembrances, things that you have forgotten. And so I've told people that the irony is that as you go into the unknown, you start to actually kind of start forgetting some of the things that you used to know as your 3D world. Okay, because like with any dream, you start to forget those dreams once they become irrelevant to you. As far as the mysticism goes, I am probably, and I don't know, I don't know what's going on in the YouTube world, but I probably am one that has been speaking more about mysticism now than ever before, because this is the last level of this simulation. The mystical part of this game is the last level, and the only way to finish the game, if you will, to master the game, is to embrace the fact that you are a mystical being. Now mysticism has a lot of connotations to it, and some of it isn't pleasant, especially in the way that it's been practiced and over the years. But the purity of the mysticism, the purity of who you are as a profound, an astonishing angelic being, is one that first and foremost, as you start to feel into it, you start to actually feel really comfortable with it, kind of like being comfortable within your own skin, kind of thing. We are going into a space that is, in a sense, truly unknown, because as consciousness, we are creating a whole new sense of realities that are based on energies of duality and contrast and fear, things that are not consistently the norm, if you will, in the realms that we come from. And so I've mentioned this in the past. As consciousness, our primary, almost our primary goal is to grow, expand. and expand in all realms, not just in love, but in joy and other areas of frequencies. This is a new area of consciousness that we are expanding into. What I mean by that is that we are going into a space of consciousness where, because we have actually barely been able to do this without destroying ourselves, we will be able to bring with us aspects of duality and contrast and fear that we were not able to bring to other realms in the past, but they won't look the way that they look here. In other words, they're just going to be another flavor, another frequency, beautiful frequency and flavor that we can use to help us expand and create new worlds, new realms of consciousness. So yes, we are actually stepping into a somewhat, relatively speaking, unknown area of mysticism. But the principal pieces of that mysticism are still in play, which is to say, we are divine mystics. Okay, that's another way of calling ourselves. We are divine mystics. We are here intentionally right now. Not everybody's here for this, okay? But we are here right now to remember who we are so that we can use our mystical abilities within the context of this game of forgetfulness and of contrast and duality to show this Earth School how to weave their way out of this 3D delusion that they're in, that they are not gods themselves. And that is let's just call it the final exam, if you will, in the ascension process. This has not been done before. And so this will this will create challenges to us. We will be exposed to aspects of mysticism that are, as I said, not very, well, let's just say they're just not very pure. Okay, and we will have to know how to play through them, just like a really cool digital virtual reality game. So ideally, I answered that one. Did I miss anything? You want to add anything? Anybody? Bueller? Anybody?
That was perfect. Thank
Yay
you.
for me. Yay. Yay.
Yay. Perfect.
For
Okay.
anybody doesn't know, this is what I do. That's my way of just giving myself a pat on the back. I don't know. So anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So the next question. When was the very first session of Earth School? In other words, when was the program created for students to attend classes here? Is there a name for the first race of beings or civilization that were the first ones here on planet Earth?
I was going to say something kind of a little witty just to kind of break the ice a little bit, but I couldn't come up with any fast enough. So, but I do want to say that as these Interflow live discussions have evolved, these questions are like extraordinary. And so thank you for asking these kind of questions. Once upon a time, maybe for those of you who are maybe a little bit older, I remember that I was told that the Earth, or maybe the civilization of Earth, was anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 years old. Now, as time has gone on, that there's more and more evidence to show that this Earth has had many civilizations that can even go back hundreds of thousands of years. I will tell you that from what I know, from what I remember, there have been schools here dating back several millions of years. And the one thing I don't have a specific answer to this person's question is what name did they give themselves at that time, because there have been many. And what I mean by many is that the way these Earth School, this particular Earth School works, and this is sort of supported, in fact, not sort of, it's highly supported by science in some ways, is that these Earth Schools come in about 10,000 year cycles. And then there is a period. Sometimes it's a natural period. Sometimes it can be caused by human involvement, whatever, where these Earth Schools will end. And then there's at least a couple thousand years that are given for this planet to recover, clean up, if you will. Like with every school, after the end of the school year, there's a couple of months at least where everything gets cleaned up and the new class comes in. So if I had to tell you specifically what a name of the civilization was, I don't have that remembrance, but I can tell you that there have literally been hundreds of schools here prior to this one. The more common ones that people do remember, that there is some recording of, it's like the civilizations of Lemuria and Atlantis and a few others. But again, those all had about 8 to 10, maybe 12,000 year cycles, and then they came to an end. So so this Earth school has been around for a while, as with most schools have. This is not the only school in the entire realm. It's not even close in terms of the schools that are out there, but this is by far one of the hardest, if not the hardest. So ideally, that answers that person's question.
Yes, thank you. The next question.
Next question.
What is the new 5D Earth like? Is it an exact copy of this one? And there is destruction all around us from floods, earthquakes, etc.? Or is it an Earth that has enhanced colors, nature, spirits, no structures, and we manifest new homes?
Basically, if I had to just piggyback on the question itself, the 5D world that is literally waiting for us to step into is more of the latter. The way that I have seen it, the way that I have been told the process will work, is that, and I know that there have been some people that have already started to develop this integrative process. 5D is integration, meaning that we start to go back into ourselves as a community of oneness, even though we still maintain our individuality. That when we start that process of integration again, and that process is again starting already in small numbers, but growing, we will start to see subtle changes here. And this is where I've talked about things like the Mandela effect, which is a way in which we start to see that there are a couple of worlds kind of playing at the same time, but that's very subtle. I mean, in other words, the 5D realm that we will step into will literally be a realm where we step into an entirely new Earth. It will look very similar to this Earth. It will have many of the same characteristics of this Earth. It's a higher vibrational version of this Earth. But the institutions that have, let's just say, dictated the terms by which we have existed in this realm will no longer be there. There are some of you who probably have heard of the 3 days of darkness, this moment where humanity will go through a flash, if you will, and in that time period, evolve into a higher level of consciousness or a 5D world. That really isn't that far from the truth in terms of how things will happen. We will literally overnight, so to speak, in a dream state, so to speak, wake up to a world where there will be a lot less people. That is something that I don't really ever mention, but there will be an extraordinary number of people that will no longer be here, because these people, as I've mentioned before, were not here to ascend. They were here to support your ascension and the ascension of others who are going through this Earth school. So you will find that in that world, the people that are left, and there'll be quite a few, but it won't be. It'll be noticeably different. They'll be noticeably different. You're going to find that in that world, the people that are there, you will know many of them for who they are in your spiritual existence. In other words, the costume or the role that they were playing in your life, or maybe in a life that you weren't even aware of, will start to meld into your consciousness, because again, everybody's consciousness will be connected as though we have experienced everybody's life. Okay, you will start to see everybody for who they truly were playing, and what roles they were playing in this world, and who they truly are in the worlds outside, in the world outside of this 3D reality. So the biggest thing to me is that the number of people that will be there afterwards will not be nearly as many, not nearly close to what they are now. And secondly, the institutions, all of them will be gone. We will start a new order of life that will not require almost all of those institutions to be in play. We won't need them. That's when we will be evolving into this space called heaven on earth, which is 60, which is really right around the corner after 5D kind of takes hold. So ideally that answers your question. It's two different worlds, two different frequencies that exist right now. We just haven't raised our consciousness to that point yet, but we're getting there, and we're getting there fast.
Beautiful. Thank you. Next question. How do you reconcile the concept of we are God with the existence of suffering and injustice in the world?
Yeah, that one took a long time for me to sort out myself. But again, it's uh-oh, am I back? Hold on a second. Here I am. Okay. So it's really actually it's really not as hard to make sense of than you would imagine. This, and it goes back to the golden, one of the golden rules, which is that this is a simulation. Imagine, if you will, when you have nightmares, or in your life, the dreams that you have in your physical state, you have them, and you experience the let's call it the pain or the fear of them. But then once you realize that you are in a dream, you realize that they were just part of the illusion, if you will. And why even have that? I mean, why experience that? This one, I'm going to make it as simple as I can possibly make it. As beautiful, as extraordinarily, insanely beautiful as the realms that exist above us, if you will, are, we are constantly desiring to grow. And the reason we are constantly desiring to grow is because we're constantly trying to, okay, I'll just put it this way. They're just telling me to just put it this way. We can get bored, believe it or not. We can get bored. We can get bored with the idea of this beautiful, perfect state, because there's nothing to reference, a reference point to draw to. In other words, to really fully appreciate the magnitude of what we exist in, or as what we exist in. And so we create different ways in which to experience what we are not. And so in that process, I don't have to tell you, this is what a lot of near-death experiencers will say when they go into that space after they pass on, is that they come to appreciate the beauty of what's on the other side because of what they have just gone through. I jokingly, but not really, I jokingly refer to this space as really hell on earth. But I want to caution, there is no such thing as hell, okay? But I'm just saying that the contrast is so extreme here, that we are constantly creating new worlds, beautiful scenarios, beautiful parallel realities from this experience. We're just not aware that we're doing it, but we do recognize that we do it when we have near-death experiences, because most people will tell you that when they have their near-death experiences, they experience a lot of the stuff that they had dreamt about, desired about while they were in their physical state. So contrast, despite how it looks and feels here, is extraordinarily important in this Earth school, in this school in general, in order for us to create new worlds and to create new consciousnesses. So that it's like, again, like I said earlier, it's like a flavor that we'll take with us, a beautiful melody that we'll take with us in creating new realities as we advance into higher states of consciousness. If we didn't have that contrast, if we did not have that pain, if we did not have the fear that we experience here, we wouldn't be motivated to create anything. Why would we? Or if we created, it wouldn't be as beautiful or as extreme as what we are forced to do here in order to escape this 3D realm of pain and suffering. The people that are doing this, okay, and this is a real big deal, all right? The people that are doing this sign up to do this. They sign up to do this because it's their opportunity to be involved in a school of this level. This is why I talk about the extras. They are here to give you the full effect of that extreme pain and suffering. Because if you didn't have them, then there wouldn't be anything to experience, really. So you, again, benefit from their willingness to step in and do that. It is torturous. I'm not going to say from the 3D perspective, it looks painful, it looks fearful, it looks everything. But that's because it was brilliantly done that way in order for you to have the experience as a creator, to create from these experiences new realms of consciousness. So from that standpoint, mission accomplished.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. The next question. Why does the divine inner child have such a vital role in raising our consciousness frequencies to 4 and 5D?
By the way, how are we doing? I mean, have I covered all 30 some?
Oh no, and we have more coming in.
Okay, all right, everybody, just get your popcorn going, and I'll just keep talking until I pass out. Okay. So, all right. So, well, I'm sorry. What was the question again?
Sure. Oh, why does the divine inner child have such a vital role in raising our consciousness frequencies to 4D and 5D?
This is one of those. This is one of those what's the word underrated portions of this whole awakening process, and this has been by design. Okay, the child. The simplest answer to that question, the simplest answer, and it does fall into the realm of practicality. So for people who are still trying to figure out how all of these teachings or remembrances that I talk about, how to apply them in your daily life, there's a real simple answer to that. And the answer is keep it simple. Okay, so there used to be an expression, keep it simple. What is it? Keep it simple.
Yeah, you got it.
Stupid. Okay. Yeah, now it's keep it simple, smarty. Okay. The child, it's pure frequencies of wonderment and curiosity and imagination and non-judgmental and playfulness, and all of these frequencies, which we talk about all of these at great length in the courses. These frequencies enable you to cut through, I'm just going to call it what it is, the minutia of this 3D realm. It allows you to bypass all the social conditioning, that all that stuff that we started off with that very first question about what happens with the spirit, the time of birth and stuff. All of the stuff that you embody, which includes lineage energy and other types of energies, you can bypass those with the child. How so? By adopting what the child does in terms of how it plays in this reality. And the biggest part of this equation is the piece of the imagination. The child can literally bypass its world. Many of us could probably relate to childhoods where we had tumultuous traumas of all sorts, of all nature, all kinds, and we used our imagination to bypass a lot of that pain and suffering, to create new worlds for us to exist in while we were managing this reality. Now, what happens is that in this game, we're told that that kind of stuff isn't practical. That kind of stuff isn't helpful. And I am telling you that 5D, this realm of 5D we're stepping into, is all about the imagination. It is by far the purest toy, if you want to call it, that we have in the realm of mysticism. It is by far the most powerful one to use, but you have to be able to use it as a child as well. In other words, you have to not overcomplicate things. Keep your world simple, and you will be able to practically be able to play in it. And like I said, one of the most simplest things is to pretend that you are in a space called the stillness. And in the stillness, you are creating, not reacting. And allow yourself to shift in consciousness to the front of the line instead of the back of the line. And you will have significant changes occur in your life. But that's the child. The child makes everything easy and simple to apply. It doesn't allow you to get in the way of yourself. That's where we trip up all the time, by making it overly complicated. And these things are not meant to be complicated. Philosophies like Taoism and Buddhism and religions of all sorts talk about the power of the child and about how to access the highest levels of consciousness, like in Christianity, the kingdom of heaven. You have to receive it and enter into the gates as a child. If you do not do that, you will make it extraordinarily difficult to awaken. You will awaken, but it's going to be tough. Okay, so that's why the child is really important. And that's why I teach what I teach. I call it the way of the inner child, but really it's the way, which is a term meaning like the truth as spoken or interpreted by the child. And that's what I'm trying to get people to understand, is how to see the truth, their truth, a truth that is consistent among, like I said, many traditions, many philosophies, many religions. That truth, how to see it in the simplest manner possible, which is through the eyes of a child.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Beautiful. Perfect. Yay.
Yay for me. There you go. Bing. There it is. That's my mic. That was
Okay.
my mic drop.
So this question, I love it because it's so timely in so many aspects. So
Okay.
here goes.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm
Hi.
ready.
Hi. The person starts saying hi.
Hi. Hi.
I can see and understand that we live in a simulation. However, I lose that thread of understanding while experiencing physical, mental, or emotional pain. I wonder, how is this pain not real?
Oh, it is real.
It is.
Oh.
Who or what is simulating what seems to be my pain? Why? And is human pain inevitable? If so, what purpose does it serve?
So there's a little bit of a similarity with one of the questions early on, but I will tell you that just because this is a simulation does not mean that what you are experiencing doesn't feel real. Okay. It has to feel real. And if you didn't feel real, then there would be in and of itself a clue right there that you're not in a reality that's, let's call it reality. The purpose of any simulation is to give you the sense that you are experiencing what you would call reality. Now, one of the things that most people do not take into account when they are sort of grasping onto that concept is that your body, which is the piece that is really, really connected to this 3D realm because of your five senses. Okay. So you not only chose to experience contrast in 3D and to forget things and to disconnect from things, but one thing you didn't do, and you did this intentionally, was you didn't disconnect from your body. Now, the body itself is part of the illusion, okay? But it is connected between your physical body and your light body. You're connecting the two through these transmitters, if you will, called your five senses. And so those five senses allow you to really feel like this is real, so that it gives you enough, through pain, through joy, through all the emotions, gives you enough to make you feel that this can't be a simulation, that this has to be, quote unquote, reality or real, because I can feel it, I can touch it, I can taste it, I can smell it, I can see it. But that was intentional so that you would actually start to identify yourself as the body, which is the way that this whole game is structured around you believing that you are the body because of your five senses. Again, getting back to why is this necessary? Number one, it's because it really adds to the effect. I will tell you that I have gone through, no, excuse my French or my Italian or whatever, I've gone through a shitload of pain over over my lifetime and in recent times, okay, to remind me of how real this game has been designed to make me feel like I am in 3D. Okay, but that pain is there to remind you, that this is as close as you're going to get to an amazingly crazy simulated game that does feel like it's real, but because you need that pain in order to help you remember who you are. Can you again do it without it? Yes. Will you be incentivized to do it? Will you have the desire to do it? Will you be inspired to do it? Probably not as much, because if everything is honky-dory roses and great, you're just less likely to want to be motivated to do anything but live this life the way it's been given to you and the story. But at this point, especially because we are at the end of this game, I told you that earlier on that this energy is here to support you, but it's here to push you. Meaning that if you are not able to move this along at the speed at which you chose to come here to do it in, you will be pushed along. And most likely that is going to cause some quote unquote pain because of the resistance that you're putting into it, plus the fact that your body, let's look at the body. Your physical body is not at the frequency at which this new energy is coming in. And this energy that's coming in, it ain't going to wait for you. It's got some things that needs to get done, and this is the time to do it. So you're going to experience that pain to nudge you along. If you don't want that pain anymore, trust me, then move it along. Get going with your awakening. Push yourself to that space of the unknown, because you're here to do something great. And if you need a little nudging through some pain, you will likely get it. So that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
Very, very, very well stated. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Next question. When the big 6D ascension of Earth happens, what will I appear as or look like as an angelic, as compared to the human beings who are not an angelic? Will other humans know that we are angelics at that time? What will our role be? Okay.
Yes. When we get into, so here's what happens shortly after we get into 5D and we start transitioning almost immediately into energies of 6D. That 6D energy, and I've said this a few times, but it probably hasn't gotten much traction, is that by the end of this year, you will start to see more and more discussion about 6D. A year or two ago, you wouldn't have heard anything, really. Nobody would even care. Nobody really basically cared about 5D, much less 6D. But 6D is heaven on earth. 60 is where this realm that we know as heaven, or whatever you want to call it, nirvana, whatever, where those beings that are in that state will actually meld in with this state of consciousness, that will meet it at that level of frequency. And so when we get into 60, we will no longer need our bodies. We will use our bodies for all sorts of things. We could use it here in this realm if we wanted to, or we can use it to travel with, or to morph into other things with. It's a costume. It's an extraordinarily advanced costume, but nevertheless, it's a costume. And so we won't need our bodies. I mean, we don't need to eat with them. We won't need to do anything with them. We will go back to being light bodies. And I mean that in its literal sense. We will actually become light beings. And in the relative to the angelics and relative to the non-angelics, let's call it, the frequency, not the frequency, the imagery that we will have isn't going to look all that much different. We will just have a higher frequency than those that are here to ascend into 60. And the reason there's a lot of reasons why it's important, but one thing that I have to stress is that the angelics are not here to stay. They're not here to stay in 5D and 6D for very long. Once this Earth school has ascended into 5 and 6D, the angelics will reappear in their own image of themselves as light beings. They're not going to have wings. You could if you wanted to, but we don't have wings. We just have a shine, if you will, an energetic frequency of light that is going to feel to all others different, higher, if you will, than those that are here going through the Earth school and progressing on to 5 and 6D, who stay back here. But even they will themselves those who stay back will actually have the choice to stay in their physical bodies, and will likely do that for a short period of time. But they will also choose, like with most of the dimensionals, to move on into their own light bodies themselves and play in different games with different costumes as well. But the angelics, we basically go back to being light beings. Now, in that capacity, we will and do have homes, and we will go back into a state of imagery that will be more, let's call it 3D-ish. I mean, there's going to be a physicality to it, even though it's somewhat more loose, more plasmic, if anything. And there we will assume whatever image we desire to assume in our worlds. And for a lot of us, we tend to have, and I've never really talked about this very much, but we tend to create realms or homes that are very what's the word? Romanesque, Greek-esque. It's like there's a real sense of that imagery of that kind of god or goddess-like type of life that we will leave. So it will have somewhat of a human quality to it, but we can choose whatever bodies we desire to play in when we get to that point. But most of the time, we'll just be light bodies. We will just be extraordinarily beautiful light bodies with incredible, beautiful imagery of music and sounds that you can't even begin to imagine here on this realm. That's it. The end. Bye-bye. Happy New Year.
Perfect. That was perfect. Okay. The next question is about manifesting. I wonder about manifesting. I know we have to work towards anything we receive, but personally, I receive so much more than I feel I've manifested. I've worked 3 jobs most of my life. I've had 3 children, no time for daydreaming or other, but received so much, and I am so grateful. I understand that some believe they only receive what they manifest. Can you provide some
Yeah.
insight on this?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a beautiful life. If that was by design, if that's what you were desiring, you, everything that it comes to you, it comes to you because of some notion that you have, desire that you have, or want that you have about what your life should be about in this world. So in this person's case, they had 3 jobs, and they got more than they even bargained for, and they have had such a beautiful life so far. It sounds like it, but I will tell you that in the 3D realm, that's great if that's what you desired. But this part about no time for daydreaming is a part that um, that I just want to focus on a little bit, because whether we know it or not, we are constantly daydreaming, which is what I call open eye meditation. Okay, whether we know it or not, we are constantly creating the world that we exist in, however we perceive that to be. Now, you may not call it a daydream, okay, but you have no other mechanism by which to create, that observe and reinforce through what I call the reaction state of your creation, to continuously feed the existing reality that you're in. So to that person, I would say, that's beautiful if that's what you wanted to achieve, but you're not here just to achieve this. If you did, then you probably wouldn't be even asking the question, because somewhere deep down inside that your ability to create versus just reinforce a manifested life that you have experienced so far is extraordinarily possible if you feel content with what you have achieved so far. Imagine being able to create with such less effort than what you did in your life with 3 jobs, to be able to experience a world that exists outside of 3D, where you can daydream your ability to see yourself as a divine creator. I mean, this is the purpose of this game now. It is to get beyond 3D, and to use the very things that you thought you weren't using before, and to use them intentionally to create worlds, a new world, not just for yourself, but for everyone else who will be impacted by the creations that you create. So, so I'm not sure if I answered that as much as as much as maybe this person would like to have answered, but that person did a wonderful job of doing what they did with the little bit of awareness that they had. Imagine what you can do now with the awareness that you have, to be able to create intentionally, versus just simply respond to the reality that you've been given, and that you accepted as your life.
That was so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. Next question. I feel like this may potentially be the last question. We may have time for one more.
How far did we get?
Oh, we have a lot more questions to go.
Okay.
But they will roll. They will roll into the next.
Okay. All right.
Flow. Okay.
All right.
So, is the collective the same for everyone, or do angelics have a different collective than the beings in the Earth School who are not angelics? As in, who is in Caleb, the collective that you channel, and how many beings are in Caleb?
Wow. That's a great way to end this session. I'll get back to everybody with that. Bye. That is a great question to ask. Everybody. So imagine the collective. And I've used this analogy to try to tie a connection with others who also speak to a collective. Some of the more common people that do that are like Esther Hicks and others who have their version of a collective. Imagine that you're standing on the coastline of, let's say, here in the States, and then there's somebody like you, Maya, in Portugal, or somebody else in Africa, or somewhere else on a coastal line. Imagine that you are tapping into your collective, and I am doing it as well. It's still part of the same pool of water, if you will, that we're tapping into. We're just tapping into that collective at different points of that immense stream of consciousness, and but yet it's still all part of the same consciousness. But in doing so, you may have access, if you will, by design, to different collective beings that are going to be guiding you through your process as opposed to mine. But because we're part of the same pool, we may also be collectively tapping into similar energy streams of higher consciousness that might be certain masters or teachers or what have you. So when I talk about the collective relative to me, I there is a stream of consciousness that I feel has a certain type of telepathic frequency to it that I can sense is from the, let's say, the core of this collective known as Caleb. But there are many others that from time to time will step in and will if there is a specific message or a specific experience or something that I need to be aware of, I will know when I am receiving something different. So like, for example, when I was in Egypt a year ago around this time, when I spent many days in the Valley of the Kings, I received a lot of telepathic frequency from what you would call, pharaohs or others that had lived in the past. And these were new to me. They were new to me relative to what I had been accustomed to receiving, but they weren't new to me relative to a feeling that I knew these beings from somewhere else already. But to be more specific about me, Caleb is a stream of many consciousnesses. How many I can't even begin to tell, but I know that there's a core sense of them, and the ones that are typically around me are some that people may or may not be familiar with, like Babaji and Yeshua and others. But there are many others that have really no name in the timeline of humanity because they didn't necessarily walk this world. And so you literally are tapped into every consciousness everywhere that has ever existed. And at the angelic level, it's usually higher frequency consciousnesses that I refer to as the ancients and others, because these are beings that collect, that have the ability to access what we would know as the Akashic records pretty freely, and I use them in order to do things like this: answer questions that people throw at me, whether it's 1 minute Taoism or the next minute something about sacred geometry or something else. You have access to all of them because at the end of the day, you are all of them. All of them are you, and you are all of them. I have to stress this, that when we get to that level of awareness, when we start to get to 5 and 60, we know we are still individually who we are, not as Franco or as Maya or as whoever, but that we are individual aspects of a greater consciousness that is playing multiple games at multiple times. But we still have our individuality. And so we are basically constantly talking to different versions of ourselves, even through those ascended masters or angelics or whatnot. The people that are going through this earth school are typically guided by ascended masters, but most likely archangels or angels, which are from a frequency standpoint, a different frequency within the angelic realm. And those particular beings oftentimes are what we typically connect with in terms of angelics or angels in the sixth dimension of heaven. There's a misunderstanding of what those angels are, but they really actually come from the angelic realm. And but they're there to guide people on a day-to-day basis. But here again, they are aspects of one's own individual consciousness as well, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like the mushroom community. I keep always going back to that, the mushroom or the aspen trees. Each aspen tree knows itself to be individual, or each mushroom knows itself, or fungi knows itself to be individual. But what happens in the experience of that fungi in one part of the world is experienced by some other form of fungi species in another part of the world, as though that species or fungi was experiencing it as if it were them themselves. So that's about all I can tell you for right now.
Okay, well, this is a beautiful place to end things. Thank you so much. I so loved all of the energy tonight from everyone and all the comments in the chat. Loved it.
Yay!
Loved it.
Yay! I did it. Okay.
I did capture all of the questions that you guys put in the chat that we didn't get to, in addition to the ones that I'd already had. And so they will just roll into the next inner flow in February. And we are very much looking forward to seeing all of you there.
Thank you, everybody. Ciao to everybody, and have a beautiful start to your 2025. January, it's going to be a little rocky roadish, but it's going to be, but it's going to be an extraordinary year. I'm telling everybody already, this time next year, you're going to be like, what's that?
Thank you, everyone.
Ciao.
Mwah.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Ciao,
Adios.
everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Adios. Bye.